Maybe this day passed like any other ordinary day. But you're unaware of one thing. Throughout your life, an inner voice screams no while your soul says yes. And every time, you choose that yes. Because your brain, years ago, when you were a child, programmed you to survive. And that program is now killing you. Slowly, smiling, politely. You cannot protect your boundaries. And this is not your weakness. This is your survival strategy. Before we continue, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and share how you feel while watching this video in the comments. Your experiences strengthen this community. 9:47 p.m. A message pops up on your phone screen. Your friend, or perhaps someone you can't even call a friend, is asking you for a favor. For the third time this week. Something inside you tightens. You're exhausted. You worked harder than usual today, you already have an early meeting tomorrow morning, and all you want is silence. Just silence. Your fingers tremble over the keyboard. You want to type no. 2 letters. So simple, right? No. But your fingers type something else, of course, no problem. Anytime you need. You hit send. And immediately, instantly, something collapses inside you. Something breaks. A small piece, but a little more each time. You don't even notice it anymore. Because this is your normal. Your default. Now you lie down in bed. The ceiling is dark. And that voice inside you starts to talk. Why? Why did you say yes again? Why can't you protect yourself? What kind of person are you? This question isn't just for tonight. This question is for your entire life. For every moment you said yes but meant no. For every moment you ignored yourself, prioritized others, and overlooked your own needs. And you still don't understand, the problem isn't with your character. The problem is with your nervous system. Why does something called a boundary feel so heavy? Think about this, your brain was designed for one thing for 2 million years. Survival. Not being excluded from the community. Because on the savannah, a solitary human was a dead human. It was simple math. Were you cast out from the tribe? You became lion fodder. That's it. So, what did your brain do? It set up an alarm system. And this alarm is triggered during social danger. When someone dislikes you. When someone disapproves of you. When you say no to someone and see that expression on their face, that disappointment, that cold distance. In that moment, your amygdala, the primitive, survival focus centered deep within your brain, goes crazy. And it whispers to you, danger. You are being rejected. You are being excluded. You will die. And of course, you are not dying. Logically, you know this. But the ancient parts of your brain don't work with logic. They only feel one thing, fear. Pure, primitive, childlike fear. Now, let's go back years. You are 6 years old, you are sitting at the dinner table. The broccoli on your plate is green, mushy, disgusting. You don't want to eat it. Your stomach is churning. And you open your mouth, childishly, honestly, innocently, Mom, I don't want to eat this. And your mother's face changes. Maybe she gets angry. Maybe she gets sad. Maybe she just gives you a tired, why do you always have to be so difficult, look. Maybe she tells you, there are starving children out there. You are a spoiled child. In that moment, your 6-year-old brain makes a decision, stating my needs equals losing love. And this decision is imprinted on your nervous system. It is carved into your neural pathways. Like a highway inside your mind. And every time you try to say no, this path becomes active and pulls you back. No, don't do it. It's dangerous. You're not safe. Maybe your story is different. Maybe it was your father's rage. Maybe it was the cold silence you got from your older sister. Maybe it was your teacher yelling at you, your friends excluding you, or just that tense atmosphere at home, the sound of everyone walking on eggshells. In any case, The message was the same: if you are yourself, if you say no, if you set a boundary, we won't love you. And what did the 6-year-old you do? You survived. You adapted. You learned. You learned to say yes. You learned to smile. You learned to ignore your own needs. And now you are 35. Or 42. Or 27. And still, that 6-year-old child is making the decisions. What does neuroscience tell us? There is something called polyvagal theory, a model developed by Dr. Stephen Porges that explains how your nervous system works. And this theory tells us that your nervous system has 3 modes. First, social engagement mode. You are safe. You are comfortable. Your prefrontal cortex, the smart, logical, executive part of your brain, is active. In this mode, you can set boundaries, because there is no perception of threat. Second, fight or flight mode. There is danger. Your sympathetic nervous system is active. Your heart rate speeds up. Your breath is cut short. And your only thought is, survive. Setting a boundary in this mode? Forget it. Because you are already just trying to survive. Third, freeze mode. Too much danger. You can't run, you can't fight. So you freeze. You dissociate. You detach from your body. You enter the yes, whatever you want, just don't hurt me mode. Now, a question for you: when someone asks you for something, which mode are you in? Be honest. Most likely, you are in the second or third mode. Because that request triggers a danger signal in your system. And you, with a survival reflex, say yes. This is not your fault. This is your system's fault. Or rather, your system is working very well, but for the wrong program. Office, Friday afternoon. Your boss approaches your desk. Hey, can you finish that report this weekend? We need it on Monday. You had plans. Your sister's birthday. You'd been looking forward to it for weeks. And every cell in your body screams no. But your mouth opens and says, of course, no problem. Your boss leaves. And you sit there, hollow. Burning inside. Is it anger? Sadness? Regret? All of it? And that inner voice starts again: you weakling, you pathetic person. Why can't you stand up for yourself? But you can't stand up for yourself. Because defending yourself is dangerous. And you want to stay safe. Now understand this: you are not weak. You are in a trauma response. And that is a very different thing. Trauma and the fawn response. Everyone knows the fight or flight response. But there is a fourth response, fawning or obsequiousness, which we might translate as flattering. But the real meaning is deeper: survival by pleasing others. This response emerges especially in childhood. Because children cannot flee. They cannot fight. They are completely dependent on their parents, caregivers, and their system. So, what do? They adapt. They become lovable. They suppress their needs. They become the good child. And this strategy works. The child survives. But there is a cost: that child loses their authentic self. Dr. Pete Walker, a psychologist who works on complex trauma, defines the fawn response as, the individual seeks safety by overcomplying with the perceived wishes and needs of others, especially when they are threatened by them, in order to pacify the threat and reduce anxiety. You do this every day. At work. At home. In your relationships. And you don't even notice. Because this is your automatic response. Your default. But now you notice. Now, as you read these words, perhaps for the first time, you see, I have lost myself. To save others. And maybe you want to cry now. Maybe you are angry. Maybe you are just tired. Everything is valid. Because this awareness is painful. But at the same time, it is liberating. Dopamine, cortisol, and boundary collapse. Now let's delve a bit more into science. When someone asks you for something and you want to say no, the following happens in your brain. The amygdala activates. It perceives a social threat. It sounds the alarm. Cortisol is released, the stress hormone. Your body tightens. Your heart rate increases. Your breath is cut short. The prefrontal cortex shuts down. The smart part of your brain is offline. You can no longer think logically. You are just in survival mode. You say yes. Immediately, a temporary relief. Because the threat has passed. Cortisol drops. The amygdala calms down. And a certain amount of dopamine is even released because you received social approval. This is a reward for your brain. A short-term reward. You did a good job. You weren't excluded. You survived. But then what happens? Hours pass. And another hormone kicks in, self-hatred. Okay, self-hatred is not a hormone. But that feeling is a chemical reaction. Low serotonin, high cortisol, decreased dopamine. And the result? Depression. Anxiety. Inner collapse. You are in a cycle, say yes, temporary relief, then self-hatred, someone asks for something again, say yes. And this cycle is consuming your life. Have you ever experienced this? Share in the comments. Because I know you are not alone. There are millions of people living this. But no one talks about it. Because even talking feels like setting a boundary. Relationship, midnight. Your partner is not speaking to you. Fourth night in a row. Because 4 days ago, for the first time, you told them something. A simple thing. I want to spend time with my friends this evening. It was a boundary. A small, legitimate, healthy boundary. But your partner perceived it as betrayal. And now they are punishing you. With silence. With coldness. With distance. And you feel that familiar fear again. That childhood fear. They don't love me. They will abandon me. I will be alone. And something inside whispers to you, apologize. Take back that boundary. Fix everything. Just make them happy. But stop. For a second. Stop. Now I am going to tell you something. And this will hurt. But you need to listen. If someone reacts badly to your boundaries, that person is benefiting from your lack of boundaries. Read that again. Slowly. Healthy people respect boundaries. They even appreciate them. Because they have their own boundaries too. And your having boundaries means the relationship is healthy. But unhealthy people, or manipulative, narcissistic, or simply traumatized people, feed on your lack of boundaries. Their love is dependent on your obedience. And when you set a boundary, they say, "How dare you?" And you called this love. But this was not love. This was control. The anatomy of boundaryless relationships. Dr. Harriet Lerner writes in her book The Dance of Anger, "Boundaries show where I end and you begin in relationships." Boundaryless relationships are fused relationships. And fusion is not love. Fusion is the loss of identity. Now look at the relationships in your life. At work. With your family. With your friends. With your partner. In how many of them can you truly be yourself? In how many of them can you say no, and it is accepted? If your answer is a very few or none, you are not in a relationship. You are in a role. The good employee. The good daughter. The good partner. The good friend. And this role is destroying you. Because that role drains your energy. It takes your time. It steals your life. And what does it give in return? Fake approval. A temporary feeling of security. And a constant fear, if I stop playing this role, they will abandon me. But here is the truth, they have already abandoned you. Because they never knew you. They only knew your role. And you, lost behind that role, have forgotten who the real you even is. Now, let's pause here. Take a deep breath. Because I know this is heavy. This hurts. Maybe you're angry at me right now. You're thinking, who is this, telling me these things about my life? And you're right. I don't know you. I don't know your story. But I do know this: if you are reading these words, and if these words are causing you discomfort, somewhere, we have touched a truth. And this truth has been waiting inside you for years. Waiting to be noticed. Waiting to be heard. So please, stay here for a minute. Don't run. Don't close the screen. Don't distract yourself. Just stay. Stay with this discomfort. Because this discomfort shows you your point of growth. And growth is always uncomfortable. Are you ready? Let's continue. A historical example, the Milgram experiment. In 1961, there was a psychologist at Yale University. His name was Stanley Milgram. And he designed an experiment. A very simple, but very disturbing experiment. The participants were told, "We are testing learning and memory. You will be the teacher. When another person, the learner, answers questions incorrectly, you will give them an electric shock. With every wrong answer, the shock intensity will increase." The learner was actually an actor. There was no real electricity. But the teacher, the real participant, didn't know this. The experiment began. The learner answered incorrectly. The teacher gave a small shock. Then another wrong answer. A bigger shock. And so it continued. Eventually, the shock levels reached danger, severe shock. The learner, the actor, began to scream in pain. He pleaded, "Let me out. I want to stop." But the authority figure, the scientist in the white lab coat, told the teacher, "Please continue. The experiment requires that you continue." And do you know what happened? 65% of the participants continued up to the highest shock level. Even when the actor pretended to pass out. Why? Because an authority figure said, "Continue." And they ignored their own conscience, their own inner voice, and obeyed the authority figure. Now think, how different is this from your life? When someone tells you, or implies, you must do this, what do? Even if the voice inside you says, "No, this is wrong, this will hurt me," you say yes. Because that person is an authority. A boss. A parent. A partner. A system. And you obey. Because disobedience is dangerous. Disobedience means rejection. But here is the difference: in the Milgram experiment, the danger was fake. There was no electricity. But the participants felt real pain, in their conscience, in their soul. And in your life? The danger is often fake. If you say no, probably nothing bad will happen. But you still feel real pain, in fear, in anxiety, in guilt. Supermarket, Saturday afternoon. You are waiting in line. The person in front of you is arguing with the cashier. Something has been calculated incorrectly. And that person, calm but firm, says, "No, this is not correct. Please check again." And you watch them. And you think in surprise, how are they doing that? How can they say no so comfortably, so easily? Because you, in the same situation, would say, "Okay, no problem, it's not important." Even if you lost your money. Because causing a fuss is an unbearable anxiety for you. That person is not a magician. That person simply has healthy boundaries. And as you watch them admiringly, you think to yourself, "I wish I could be like that." And here is the secret: you can be. But first, you must understand one thing: setting boundaries is a skill. And like every skill, it can be learned. It can be practiced. It can be developed. You were not born without boundaries. You learn to be boundaryless. And now, you can learn to set boundaries. The neurophysiological fact, Plasticity. Your brain has a marvelous feature, neuroplasticity. That is, the ability to change. The ability to form new neural pathways and weaken old ones. That old highway, that stating my needs equals dangerous highway, is not permanent. You built it. And you can build a new one. But how? Here is the truth, through repetition. Every time you say no, and the world does not collapse, your brain receives new data. Oh, wait. Saying no does not equal death. Saying no equals safe. And every safe no experience strengthens that new path. And it weakens the old one. But at first, it feels terrifying. Because the old path is still very strong. It is still the default. And when you deviate from that path, your amygdala goes crazy. What are you doing? Danger. Go back. But you don't go back. You say no, along with the fear. And then, nothing happens. The world doesn't collapse. People don't abandon you. And you survive. And your brain is surprised. Wow. Maybe I was wrong. This sounds like a miracle. But this is just science. Scene 5, the first no. Let's imagine a scene. Your first real no. A friend asks you for something. Help them move house. But you are very tired that day. And you genuinely don't want to. Normally, you would automatically say yes. But this time, you pause and think. You feel the fear inside, that familiar, intense, breathless fear. But this time, something is different. This time, you know this fear is not real. It is just an old alarm. An illusion. And trembling, sweating, heart pounding, you open your mouth. And you say, I won't be able to this time. I'm sorry. Silence. A few seconds that feel like forever. Your friend looks at you. And you expect the worst. Anger. Disappointment. Rejection. But then your friend says, okay, no problem. I'll ask someone else. And that's it. The world does not collapse. The sky does not fall. Your relationship does not end. And you stand there, in shock. That's it? That's all. Yes. That's all. But for you, this is everything. Because this is your first free choice. Your first real no. And this is the beginning of everything. The guilt wave, or the next phase. But wait. Because there is a continuation to this story. A few hours later, something starts inside you. A heavy, suffocating feeling. Guilt. Maybe I should have helped. Maybe I'm a bad friend. Maybe I was selfish. This voice is very familiar. This is your inner critic. And this voice kicks in every time you set a boundary. But understand this guilt is a false alarm. This is the last gasp of your brain's old programming. The saying no equals danger program, because it doesn't want to die, sends you guilt. See? You did something bad. You upset people. Say yes to next time. But you understand this game now. And you feel that guilt, but you don't surrender to it. You tell yourself, this guilt is temporary. This is just an old habit. I did a good thing. I protected myself. And this is right. And slowly, over time, that guilt diminishes. Because you stop giving it power. Who can't set boundaries? A profile. Now let's go a little deeper. Because people who struggle to set boundaries have specific characteristics. And perhaps you will see most of these characteristics in yourself. First, high empathy. You feel people's emotions very intensely. When someone is sad, you are sad too. And you will do anything to stop that sadness, even at your own expense. Second, low self-worth. Deep down, you do not feel enough. And because of this, you need the approval of others. Their yes proves your value. Their no confirms your worthlessness. Third, history of trauma. Childhood neglect, abuse, emotional manipulation, or just inconsistent, unpredictable parenting. The result, you haven't learned to feel safe. And now, you are constantly on alert, constantly looking for the danger. Fourth, over-responsibility. You feel responsible for the emotions, needs, and problems of others. You think, if I don't help them, who will? And this thought enslaves you. Fifth, conflict phobia. You are terribly afraid of conflict. Because conflict was a dangerous thing in your childhood. Shouting, violence, or a cold, freezing silence. Any kind of conflict triggers a PTSD-like reaction in you. How many did you find? 3? 4? All of them? If all of them apply to you, then you are facing the profile called a people pleaser. One who pleases people, but destroys themselves. And this profile is not a disease. It is a survival strategy. But you no longer need this strategy. Because you are no longer that helpless child. You are a strong adult. And you can protect yourself. Scene 6, family dinner, Sunday noon. You are sitting at the table. Your mother, your father, your siblings. And the conversations begin. And every conversation feels like a criticism directed at you. Aren't you married yet? It's hard to have children after this age, you know, don't you? How is your job going? Are you still working in that low-paying position? And you sit there. You smile. You murmur, yes, I know. I'm trying. Hopefully soon. But inside, a volcano is erupting. Anger, pain, helplessness. And all you want is to stand up and shout, leave me alone. It's my life. It's none of your business. But you don't. Because they are your family. And family is something sacred, right? You must respect them. You shouldn't upset them. But here is the truth, family does not give them the right to treat you badly. Blood ties do not legitimize toxic behaviors. And you have the right to say no to your family. You have the right to protect yourself from their attacks. But this is contrary to what has been taught for years. Family is everything. Family is always right. To oppose family is a sin. And this is why setting boundaries is the hardest within family dynamics. Because this boundary challenges not just a behavior, but an entire identity structure. Family systems theory, you are playing a role. Murray Bowen developed family systems theory. And according to this theory, there are roles in every family. And everyone plays a role. The rescuer. The problem child. The successful child. The invisible child. And what is your role? Most likely the rescuer or the peacekeeper. You are the one who solves everyone's problems. Who manages everyone's emotions. Who maintains the balance in the family. And this role gives you a certain amount of value. Look, I am very important. Without me, this family will fall apart. But at the same time, it consumes you. Because this role is not your real self. This is a mask created for the needs of the family. And when you try to break free from that mask, the family system resists you. Why did you change? You used to be a much better person. You become selfish now. Because you are disrupting the script. You are stepping out of your role. And the system wants you to return. But you don't return. Because staying in that role means death. A slow, painful death. The first family boundary, an earthquake. Let's imagine another scene. You are setting a boundary with your family. For the first time. Maybe it is this, Mom, I don't want to call you on the weekends anymore. I will call you. Or, a Dad, I don't want to talk about my private life. Or, sibling, you need to stop asking me for money. I am not a bank. You say the words. And immediately, an earthquake occurs. The family system shakes. Outbursts of anger. How do you talk to me like that? Guilt tripping. I will die of a heart attack because of you. Manipulation. Have you forgotten that I am your sibling? Or the most painful, silence. Cold, distant, I don't know you anymore stares. And you are terrified. Your whole body is trembling. Your amygdala is going wild. We made a mistake. Take it back. Apologize. Fix everything. And this moment is the most critical moment. This moment is your moment of choice. You will either go back, apologize, take back the boundary, re-enter your role, and everything will return to normal. But another piece of you will die inside. Or you will resist. Even with fear, trembling, and crying, you will resist. And you will say, no. I have to do this. For myself. And that resistance will change everything. Wait, change is not one-sided, but be careful. Because you must understand this, when you change, relationships change too. And some relationships cannot withstand this change. Some people loved your boundaryless state. Because they were taking advantage of you. And when you set a boundary, they will disappear. And this will hurt. Because you loved them. Or at least, you thought you loved them. But ask yourself this question, did they love me? Or did they love what I gave them? If a relationship is only dependent on you saying yes, that relationship was fake from the start. And the end of that relationship is not a loss. It is a cleansing. You are making space. You are making space for real relationships. You are making space for people who accept you as you are, who respect your boundaries, who love you, are not for what you give, but for who you are. Practical techniques, the art of setting boundaries. Okay, enough theory. Now let's talk practice. Because you want to do this, not just know it. Technique 1. Use I language. Instead of, you always pressure me, say, I feel uncomfortable when I feel pressured. This small change reduces defensiveness. Because you are not accusing. You are simply sharing your own experience. Technique 2. Be brief and clear. No, I can't do that is enough. You don't need long explanations. Because every explanation is a defense. And defending yourself is not a sign of weakness, but it can be perceived that way. You don't need to justify yourself. No is. Technique 3. Repeat. Known as the broken record technique. When someone tries to persuade you, you repeat the same sentence. Calmly, firmly. I understand, but my answer is still no. I heard you, but I can't do it. You don't argue. You don't explain. You just restate your boundary. Technique 4. Acknowledge emotions, but don't change your boundary. I understand that you're disappointed. But I still can't do it. You show empathy because you're an empathetic person. But empathy doesn't mean giving up your boundary. Technique 5. Buy time. You don't have to answer immediately. Say, let me think about it and get back to you. This gives you a chance to step out of panic mode and engage your rational mind. Technique 6. No, but instead of no. Sometimes, you don't need to say a flat no. You can offer an alternative. I can't come tonight, but I'm free tomorrow afternoon. This feels like a compromise. But be careful, only do this if you genuinely want to. Don't let it lead to saying yes. Technique 7. Physical boundaries. Sometimes, words aren't enough. You need to set physical distance. Hang up the phone. Leave the room. End the relationship. This might seem extreme. But in some cases, it's the only healthy option. Workplace, Monday morning 8:30. You're in a meeting. Your boss is announcing a new project. And the team is looking for a volunteer. The project requires extra hours, weekend work. No pay raise. The old you would have raised your hand immediately. I'll do it. Because you wanted approval, validation. But now, you're different. Now you pause and ask yourself, Do I want to do this, or do I just want to be liked? And the answer is clear, no. You don't want to. You stay silent. And that silence gives someone else a chance. And your boss picks someone else. The meeting ends. You walk out. And there's a feeling inside you. Lightness. Freedom. Because for the first time, you made your own choice. You didn't sacrifice yourself. You protected yourself. And maybe your boss is disappointed. Maybe a colleague thinks you're not a team player. But you're playing for your own team. And that's what matters most. Redefining conflict. Let me tell you something, conflict isn't bad. Conflict is part of a healthy relationship. Because two different people have different needs, different boundaries. And sometimes those needs clash. And that's normal. The problem isn't conflict. The problem is avoiding conflict. Because when you avoid conflict, your needs go unmet. Resentment builds. Bitterness grows. And in the end, you either explode or collapse inward. But when you face conflict, calmly, openly, honestly, real solutions become possible. Because the other person learns your real needs. And maybe they share theirs. And together, you find a way. It's not easy. It's uncomfortable. But it's real. And real relationships withstand conflict. Fake relationships run from it. What kind of relationships do you want? Dealing with narcissists, a special case. But I have to say this too, with some people, setting boundaries is almost impossible. People with narcissistic personality traits. Because narcissists see your boundaries as a personal attack. To them, the world revolves around them. And when you say no, you wound their ego. And they punish you. Gaslighting, twisting reality, making you feel crazy. Projection, blaming you for their faults. Silent treatment, punishing you with silence. If you have a narcissist in your life, know this, you can't change them. They don't need therapy, understanding, or love. They don't see anything wrong with themselves. Your only option, walk away. Physically, if possible. Emotionally, absolutely. Learn to see their manipulations. And don't give them power. This can hurt. Especially if that person is a parent, sibling, or long-term partner. But your mental health is more important than their ego. Scene 8, Therapy Office, a Wednesday. You're sitting across from your therapist. And you say, I want to change. But I'm so scared. Your therapist looks at you. And asks, what are you scared of? You think. And you say, because if I change, people won't love me. Your therapist nods. And if you don't change? You pause. Because you've never asked yourself that question. If you don't change, your therapist continues, will you love yourself? And that question breaks you. Because you know the answer. No. If you don't change, you'll never love yourself. Because you'll be a liar. A performer. Not real. And that's the real loss. Not losing others' love, because that's already fake. The real loss is losing your own love. You've drifted so far from your true self that you don't even recognize yourself anymore. When you look in the mirror, you see a stranger. Pleasant, smiling, saying everything's fine. But empty inside. And that's the real motivation for change. Not for others' approval. For your own integrity. Authenticity, the lost treasure. Dr. Brené Brown writes in *daring greatly*, authenticity is a daily practice of letting go of the betrayals we inflict on our hearts, our souls, ourselves. It's the courage to choose who we truly are. Authenticity. Think about that word. Authentic, being yourself. Not fake. Not an imitation. You. And you, for years, haven't been authentic. You're a performance. A stage show. And maybe the audience is clapping. But backstage, you're alone and exhausted. Authenticity is the result of setting boundaries. Because when you set boundaries, you drop the mask. You show your real needs, desires, emotions. And that's vulnerability. Vulnerability isn't weakness. Vulnerability is the greatest courage. Because when you're vulnerable, you get the chance to form real connections. People can see the real you, not your mask. And if they love you, they love the real you, not a fake persona. And that love lasts a lifetime. Because that love is real. Boundaries and free will. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Man is condemned to be free." It sounds like a paradox. But it's a profound truth. You are responsible for your choices. Every choice is yours. And when you say yes, when you really want to say no, that's your choice. But I didn't choose. They force me, you might say. But according to Sartre, that's an excuse. Because you're always making a choice. Sometimes the choice is between saying yes or losing this relationship. But it's still a choice. And you choose yes. Because it hurts less in the moment. But in the long run? In the long run, that yes destroys you. So come here, you are condemned to be free. That's your power. You have the power to say no, you always do. But that power is terrifying. Because freedom means responsibility. You're no longer a victim. You're the subject. And being the subject is hard. But it's also the only true freedom. In front of the mirror, at night. You come home. It's been a long day. And you look in the mirror. There's exhaustion on your face. Emptiness in your eyes. And you ask yourself, who am I? Who am I really? And in the silence, slowly, an answer rises from within. I am others' expectations. I am their needs. I am a role. And this realization hurts. But it's also liberating. Because now you know. You're no longer in denial. You're no longer fooling yourself. You've lost yourself. But if you've lost yourself, you can find yourself too. And finding yourself starts with setting boundaries. Every no brings you one step closer to your true self. This isn't an easy journey. It's painful. It's lonely. But it's the only way. Because what's the alternative? Living your life for others' desires? Lying on your deathbed, looking back and regretting, I wish I had been more myself? No. You don't deserve that. You deserve to live your own life. Trauma, healing, and boundaries. Healing from trauma means rebuilding boundaries. Because trauma destroys boundaries. Abuse teaches you your body isn't yours. Neglect teaches you your needs don't matter. Manipulation teaches you your perception is wrong. And you internalize these lessons. And your whole life gets built on these false teachings. Healing is the process of questioning and rewriting those teachings. My body is mine. I decide what happens to it. My needs are valid and important. My perception is real. I know what I feel. These might sound like affirmations. But they're not just words. They're new neural pathways. They're a new identity. And this new identity is built on boundaries. Strong, clear, flexible but unbreakable boundaries. 1 year later. A year has passed. And you're so different now. A friend asks you for a favor. And you, without hesitation, think. You look inward. Do I want to do this? The answer is no. And you, calmly, say, I'm sorry, I can't do it this time. And then, nothing. No fear. No panic. Just a slight relief. Because now, this is natural for you. Saying no isn't a battle anymore. It's just a choice. And the results? Some people left your life. People who were only there to take from you. And their departure hurt. But it also made space. New people came. People who truly see you. who respect your boundaries, who love you for who you are. And you're no longer exhausted, no longer empty, because you're now investing your energy in your own life, your own dreams, your own healing, not pouring it into others' bottomless pits. And your relationships? Fewer, but deeper. Fewer people, but more real connections. And that changes everything. Because you now understand, quality matters more than quantity. One real friend is better than 10 fake ones. Attachment theory, how deep are the roots? John Bowlby's attachment theory tells us this: the relationship we had with our earliest caregivers shapes all our relationships for life. If you were securely attached, if your mother or father was consistent, loving, responsive, you naturally learned to set boundaries. Because you felt safe. You weren't afraid of rejection. But if you were insecurely attached, if your caregiver was inconsistent, cold, or absent, you grew up in constant fear. If I ask for too much, they'll abandon me. If I show my needs, they won't love me. And that fear got wired into your nervous system. And now, as an adult, you're still living with that fear. There are 3 types of insecure attachment. Anxious preoccupied attachment, you constantly seek validation. You're always asking, do you still love me? And when you set boundaries, you're terrified the love will be withdrawn. Avoidant attachment, you keep your distance. You're afraid of closeness. But not because you set boundaries with others, because you set boundaries with yourself. I don't deserve love, you tell yourself inside. Disorganized attachment, you want closeness and distance at the same time. One step forward, one step back. Because love is both what you crave and what you fear. And in this chaos, boundaries become completely blurred. Which one are you? Maybe a mix. Maybe different styles in different relationships. But here's the good news, attachment styles can change. With therapy, with awareness, with safe relationships, you can develop secure attachment. Slowly, step by step. And secure attachment forms the foundation for setting boundaries. You and your partner, a Saturday evening. Your partner wants to talk. I've noticed something, they say. You've changed lately. You're more distant. The old fear stirs inside you. Here it comes. They're going to leave me. Because I'm not easy anymore. But this time, you take a deep breath. And you say, you're right, I've changed. Because I'm trying to find myself. And that sometimes means setting boundaries. Your partner looks at you. And says something surprising, I love that. Because now, you're more real. More you. And in that moment, something clicks, the right people support your growth. The wrong people want you to stay small. Your partner continues, it's hard sometimes, yes. Because I was used to you always saying yes. But now I see that wasn't healthy. Not for you, not for me. And you cry. From happiness. From relief. Because you've been truly seen. For the first time. This doesn't happen in every relationship. Some partners don't accept your change. And if that's the case, that relationship needs to end. But with the right person, change strengthens the relationship. Makes it deeper, more real. Cultural factors, collectivism versus individualism. Now let's take a broader perspective. Because setting boundaries isn't just a personal issue. It's cultural too. In Western cultures, America, most of Europe, individualism is celebrated. Be yourself. Forge your own path. Don't let others hold you back. This makes setting boundaries easier, in theory. Because the culture validates individual rights, personal space. But in Eastern cultures, Latin cultures, the Middle East, collectivism runs stronger. Family comes first. Society comes first. You are part of the community. Your needs come after the groups. And in these cultures, setting boundaries is much harder. Because you're not just fighting personal fears, you're fighting an entire cultural system. You're selfish. You've abandoned your family. You betrayed our culture. These accusations hit hard. Because they're not just personal critiques. They're attacks on your identity. But here's the truth, collectivism isn't bad. But distorted collectivism is toxic. Healthy collectivism means mutual support. Everyone gives, everyone receives. In times of need, the community is there. But distorted collectivism means exploitation. Some keep giving, others keep taking. And while the givers burn out, the takers say, "This is our culture." And you can question that system. You have to. Because if a culture is killing you, that culture is already dead. A community meeting. Someone from the community asks you for a favor. A big one. It'll take weeks of your time. And everyone's looking at you, waiting. The old you would have automatically said yes. Because saying no meant risking exclusion from the group. But now you understand, belonging shouldn't come at the cost of losing yourself. You say, politely but firmly, "I can't do this. I can help in other ways, but this specific request is beyond my capacity." Silence. Some are shocked. Some are disappointed. But then, something surprising happens. Someone else speaks up, "I can do it." And you realize, you're not indispensable. And that's a liberating truth. Because if you were indispensable, you'd never get to rest. You'd have to keep working endlessly. But you're not indispensable. Others can step up. And that sets you free. Digital boundaries, a modern problem. Now let's talk about something previous generations never faced, digital boundaries. Your phone is always on. Messages come every second. Emails keep pinging. Social media constantly demands your attention. And you feel obligated to respond to everything. Because you've seen the message, it says seen. And if you don't reply, you're rude, right? No. You don't have to respond instantly. You can turn off your phone. You can mute notifications. You can go days without checking. And that's not rude. It's healthy. Because your attention, your energy, your time are your most valuable resources. And you have to protect them. But the digital world works against this. The digital world wants you to be constantly available. Because attention equals money. And you're the product, the valuable resource. So set boundaries. Clear boundaries. I only check my phone twice a day. I don't read emails on weekends. I don't use social media after 8 p.m. People will adjust. And if they don't? That's their problem, not yours. Turning off your phone. It's Friday evening. The work week is over. You pick up your phone. And out of habit, you check your messages. 23 texts. 12 emails. 69 social media notifications. The old you would have read them all. Responded to every one. And the entire evening would have been spent staring at a screen. But this time, you do something different. You turn off your phone. Completely. And you set it aside. The first 5 minutes, anxiety creeps in. What if it's urgent? What if someone gets upset? What if I'm missing something? But then, slowly, that anxiety melts away. And something else takes its place, peace. Silence. Real silence. No notifications. No vibrations. No demands. Just you. And the present moment. And this moment is sacred. Because this moment is yours. When you turn your phone back on Sunday evening, the messages are still there. Nothing is lost. And the world didn't collapse. But you've changed. Because you broke the digital addiction. And if you did it for a weekend, you can do it for a week. A month. A lifetime. Women and boundaries, gender dynamics. Now let's talk about a challenge. Because setting boundaries is hard for everyone. But for some groups, it's even harder. Women have been forced into the caregiver role for centuries. Being the good girl, the agreeable one, the self-sacrificing one. Putting their own needs last. And this isn't just cultural. It's structural. At work, women are often pushed into the office mom role. At home, emotional labor is typically expected from women. And when a woman sets boundaries, difficult, uncooperative, cold, these labels can be career killers. For men, decisive, leader, clear. The same behavior, different interpretations. It's not fair. But it's real. So what should a woman do? Give up? No. She should resist even harder. Because every woman who sets boundaries paves the way for other women. Every no breaks a piece of the system. And men? Men are harmed by this system too. Because the pressure to be strong and emotionless stops them from expressing vulnerability or emotional needs. Setting boundaries is a feminist act. But it's also a human act. For everyone. A woman, a meeting, an interruption. You're in a meeting. You're presenting an idea. And right in the middle, a male colleague interrupts you. The old you would have gone quiet. Maybe he's right. Maybe my idea isn't that important. But this time, you keep going. Sorry, I'm not finished yet. The man is taken aback. Everyone in the meeting room is surprised. Because you're not the good girl anymore. You're the real girl. And you continue. You finish your idea. And in the end, someone says, "That's a great idea." And you feel empowered. Because you fought for your voice. You protected your space. It's a small moment. But these small moments are the seeds of big change. Guilt and shame, twin chains. Now let's touch on the deepest wounds, guilt and shame. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am a bad person. They're different. And both stop you from setting boundaries. Guilt is action-focused. I said no and that hurt someone. So I'm guilty. But here's the truth, you're not responsible for someone else's disappointment. Everyone is responsible for their own emotions. When you express your needs, and someone gets upset, that's not your fault. That's their work to do. Of course, you can be kind. You can be empathetic. But you don't have to manage their feelings. Shame cuts deeper. Shame says, I'm a bad person for setting boundaries. Because good people always give. They always sacrifice. But that's a lie. Good people take care of themselves too. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't give anything real to others. Only scraps. And scraps aren't enough for anyone. How do you deal with shame? Light. Shame grows in the dark. But when you talk about it, when you share it, shame melts away. I feel shame when I set boundaries. That simple sentence is so powerful. Because you named the shame. And what you name loses its power. In a therapy group, a Wednesday evening. You're in group therapy. And someone is sharing their story. How they said no to their mother for the first time. And now, they feel crippling guilt. You look at that person. And in their eyes, you see your own pain. And you say, me too. I feel the same. And I thought I was alone. I thought I was a monster. The group leader speaks, raise your hand if you felt guilt when setting boundaries. Every hand goes up. 10 people. 10 hands. All of them. And in that moment, something clicks, you're not alone. This fight isn't just yours. It's everyone's fight. And together, you're stronger. So speak. Share. Don't hide. Because your story can give someone else hope. And their story can give you strength. Boundaries and compassion, a paradox. Now a paradox, setting boundaries can be the greatest act of compassion. How? Because when you say no to someone, you're giving them a gift, the truth. When you say a fake yes, you're lying. And that person builds something on that lie. An expectation. A plan. And when you can't follow through, or do it resentfully, that something collapses. But when you say an honest no, that person knows the truth. And with the truth, they can make healthy decisions. Plus, when you say no, you become a model. Look, setting boundaries is possible. And the world doesn't fall apart. Maybe that person draws inspiration from your courage. Maybe they start setting their own boundaries. And so, you create a ripple effect. A wave of change. Forgiveness, yourself and others. Now the challenge, forgiveness. Maybe you didn't set boundaries for years. And because of that, people took advantage of you. Abused you. Exploited you. And now you're angry. At them. But also at yourself. Why did I let them? Why didn't I protect myself? How stupid am I? But stop. You're not stupid. You were trying to survive. With the knowledge and resources you had then, you made the best choices you could. And now, you know more. You have more resources. And you're making different choices. But being angry at the past is ruining your present. Because that anger drains your energy. And you need that energy for the future. So forgive. First, yourself. I did the best I could. And now, I'm doing better. And then, if you can, others. Because they were likely acting out their own pain, their own trauma. They were using their own survival strategies. Forgiving doesn't mean approving their behavior. Forgiving means you want to be free. Free from the chains of resentment. Writing a letter. You take a piece of paper. And you write a letter to your old, boundaryless self. Dear old me. I understand you. I understand why you said yes to everything. Because you were scared. Scared of being alone, unloved, abandoned. And you coped the best you could. You survived. And that's a victory. But now, I'm here. And I can protect you. You're not alone anymore. So I'm letting you go. With love, with gratitude, I'm letting you go. Because you've done your job. Now, it's my turn. With love. The new me. This exercise might seem silly. But try it. Because this letter is a transition ritual. From your old identity to your new one. And rituals help your brain understand reality. Oh, something's changed. We're different now. Neural rewiring, meditation and boundaries. A scientific fact, meditation changes your brain. Especially mindfulness meditation. Because mindfulness puts you in observer mode. You observe your thoughts, emotions, impulses, but you don't get swept away by them. Oh, I'm feeling fear now. Interesting. It's just a feeling. Temporary. This simple observation weakens the amygdala's power. Because you're not perceiving the threat as real. You see it as just a signal. And over time, with this practice, the fear response triggered by wanting to say no diminishes. Because your brain learns, this isn't a real danger. It's just an old alarm. Try this exercise. Sit. Close your eyes. Take deep breaths. Now imagine, someone asks you for something. And you want to say no. What do you feel in your body? Tightness in your chest? Nausea in your stomach? A lump in your throat? Just observe. Don't judge. Don't try to change it. Just feel. And now, imagine, you say no, calmly, clearly. What happens? Does the fear intensify? Or does it slowly fade? Do this every day, for 5 minutes. And a month from now, saying no in real life will be so much easier. Because you've trained your brain. You've built a new response. A crisis, a choice. Things are going badly. financial troubles, and a friend asks you for a loan. A large amount. You don't have the money either. And giving it would mean putting yourself at risk. But that person begs. You're my only hope. Please. There's a conflict inside you. On one side, the old voice, help them. Be a good person. Sacrifice. On the other, the new voice, no. You have to protect yourself. This is your life. And you have to make a choice. Not in a second. Maybe after hours, days of thinking. But in the end, you choose. And this time, you choose the new voice. I'm sorry. I can't lend you the money. But I can help in other ways, maybe with budgeting or finding other resources. The person is disappointed. Maybe angry. Maybe they pull away. And you feel pain. But you also feel something else, integrity. Because you stayed true to yourself. You protected yourself. And that's worth more than any disappointment. Spiritus Mundi, the call of the soul. Carl Jung had a concept, individuation. The process of finding your true self, becoming whole. And according to Jung, this process is painful. Because you have to break away from society's expectations. You have to shed your persona, your social mask. And society resists this. Because you're disrupting the script. But Jung says individuation is inevitable. Because the soul has a natural inclination toward wholeness. Your soul is calling out. Be real. Be whole. Be free. And by setting boundaries, you're answering that call. This is a spiritual journey. As much psychological as it is existential. You're discovering who you are. The real face behind the mask. And that face is beautiful. With its flaws, its wounds, its strength, its vulnerability. With all of it, it's beautiful. Because it's real. And the real is always beautiful. Under the moonlight, one night. You're outside. Looking up at the sky. The moon is bright. And a thought crosses your mind, I've changed. And I can't go back. This thought isn't scary anymore. It's liberating. Because you've found yourself. Or you're finding yourself. The journey isn't over, maybe it never will be. But you're on the right path. By setting boundaries, you've taken back your life. Your energy. Your soul. And now, what will you do? How will you live? The answer is simple, authentically. Every day, with small choices. Sometimes yes. Sometimes no, but always, honestly. It's not a perfect life. But it's your life. And that's the only thing that truly matters. Taking action, what will you do now? Now, we've reached the end of these words. And the question is, what will you do now? Because knowledge is power, but only when it turns into action. You can read everything, understand everything. But if you don't change anything, nothing changes. So here's a challenge, today, say one small no. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe a friend invites you to dinner, but you're tired. Normally, you'd say yes. This time, say no. Maybe a colleague asks you to do their work. Normally, you'd agree. This time, decline. Maybe your family expects something from you. Normally, you'd comply. This time, politely but firmly, set your boundary. And then observe. What happens? Does the world collapse? Do people abandon you? Probably not. Probably, nothing happens. Or maybe someone is mildly disappointed, but that's not your burden to carry. And after that no, you'll notice something in yourself, lightness. You'll feel a weight lift from your shoulders. That lightness is the taste of freedom. And once you've tasted it, you'll never want captivity again. Manifestation, imagine a life with boundaries. Now close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And imagine. Imagine a year from now. You're so different from who you are today. You wake up in the morning, and there's no fear inside you. Because today, you don't owe anyone anything. Only yourself. You check your phone, not frantically, but calmly. Because you don't have to respond to every message. Someone asks you for a favor, and you look inward. Do I want to do this? The answer is no. And without hesitation, you say, I'm sorry, I can't do it this time. The other person accepts it. Or they don't, but that's no longer your problem. You go to work, and your boss suggests an extra project. The old you would have automatically agreed. But now you ask, is this in my job description? Does it come with overtime pay? And if the answers aren't satisfactory, you say no, professionally. Clearly. You come home, and you have energy, because you didn't exhaust yourself all day. Your boundaries protected you. You talk to your family, and when they ask something of you, you consider it. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But always, it's your choice. At night, you lie in bed, and there's peace inside you. Because today, you didn't betray yourself. You were real. This vision doesn't have to be a dream. It can be your future. But for that, you need to act now. You need to take that first step now. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are millions of people out there fighting the same battle. Learning to set boundaries. Trying to find themselves. Find them. Join support groups. Get therapy. Talk to your friends, real, deep conversations. And on social media, after watching this video, go to the comments and share your story. I struggle with setting boundaries too. And today, I'm taking my first step. That simple act of sharing will hold you accountable. And it will inspire others. Because when you speak, others find the courage to speak. When you change, others find hope to change. You are a change agent. In your own life and in others' lives. And that power is incredible. Final scene, a reflection in the mirror. Let's imagine one last scene. You're looking in the mirror. But this time, you see something different. There's no tension in your face. No fear in your eyes. Just calm. And maybe a small smile. Because you know yourself now. The real you. And that person, the one standing in the mirror, is strong. Vulnerable but brave. Wounded but healing. That person isn't perfect. They still make mistakes. They still say yes sometimes when they mean no, but here's the difference. That person is aware. That person is learning. And you say to that person, I'm proud of you. Because you didn't choose the easy path. You chose the real path. And that's courage. Those words feel strange at first. Because you've never spoken to yourself like this. You've always criticized, judged, belittled yourself. But now, you're learning a new language, the language of self-compassion. And that language will change everything. Because when you approach yourself with compassion, setting boundaries becomes easier. Because you know you're worth protecting. Science's final word, neurocognitive transformation. One last scientific note, Dr. Rick Hanson, a neuropsychologist, says, the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences but Teflon for positive ones. Meaning, your brain clings to bad memories quickly, for survival. But good memories slip away easily. So you have to consciously record the good experiences. Every time you set a boundary and the world doesn't collapse, pause. For 30 seconds, just live in that moment. Feel it. Let your brain record it. Look, this is safe. This is good. This simple practice rewires neural pathways. Because you're giving your brain new data. Setting boundaries is safe. And over time, the old boundaries equals danger pathway weakens. The new pathway strengthens. This isn't magic. It's neuroplasticity. Your brain's miraculous ability to change. You can reprogram your own brain. You're the only one who can do it. But you can do it. A poetic closing. Please share this final thought with me. Boundaries aren't walls. Boundaries are doors. Walls keep everything out. No one can enter. Nothing can enter. And you're left alone. But doors? Doors are selective. Doors say, you can come in, but you cannot. Doors keep you in control. You decide who enters, when they enter, what they bring. And that's freedom. By setting boundaries, you're not building a prison. You're building a home. A safe, warm, your home. And in that home, you can live in peace. Because you know who's inside. And they're all people who love you, support you, see the real you. Final call, what's your story? Now, one last question. What's your story? Where have you struggled to set boundaries? With whom? Why? And more importantly, what are you going to do now? Because this video ends here. But your story continues. And the next chapter is entirely up to you. You can keep going as a victim. Oh, I'm helpless. I can't change. Or you can be a hero. I'm taking on this challenge. I'm going to change. Which character will you choose? Please share in the comments. Because your story can inspire others. Your courage can give others courage. And together, we're stronger. Together, we can break this cultural, systemic, generational lack of boundaries. Together, we can create a new path. A path for authentic, whole people with healthy boundaries. Goodbye and beginning. And now, this content has come to an end. But your journey is just beginning. Remember, you have the right to say no, it's a natural right. No one can take it from you. Boundaries aren't the enemy of love, they support it. Healthy relationships are built on boundaries. You are worth changing for. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much it hurts. You're not alone. Millions of people are on this journey with you. And most importantly, you are strong. You've always been strong. You just forgot. Now you remember. And nothing will ever be the same again. Go. Live. Live with your boundaries. Live free. If this content touched you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others. Because this message needs to be heard. And you are its messenger. See you in the comments. I can't wait to read your story. And don't forget, your life is yours. Take it back. One last breath. One last thought. As you look at this screen, maybe everything looks the same. But something has changed. You've changed. Maybe just a small crack in your mind, your heart, your soul. But that crack is enough to let the light in. And when the light comes, the darkness flees. You're no longer in the dark. You're at dawn. And dawn is always the most beautiful moment. Because dawn is a promise. The promise of a new day, a new beginning. This is your dawn. Welcome.